Hey everyone, Mrhappy here, and welcome to Mondays with Mrhappy, aka Mrhappy Mondays, the weekly Q&A show where you ask me questions and I answer them. I'm trying to do this intro, record it right after. I had a protein shake before this, and I when you have something that's really good, you just salivate a lot. I'm going to apologize for that now because I kind of have to get this done now. I've already put the time aside for it. But yeah, there's not much to say for the start of this video. We're now on the long Dawn Trail wait. I'm working on my relics. I'm almost done with all the Zodiac weapons, actually. I'm 3 out of 19 for the Manderville finished ones. I only have the 16 final steps to go. I don't need to do anything but the most recent one. And then it's Eureka. I have like a zone and a half, and then the Anima weapons, which I've been collecting tomes for the entire time. And hopefully by the time I'm done with Manderville, Zodiac, and Eureka, I'll have most of those items done. And whatever crafter or gatherer scripts or whatever I have, I can chuck at the Umbright phase, I think it is. That's it. I don't have much else going on. I'm waiting for Grand Blue on the 28th. And then we got Final Fantasy VII, February 29th. Oh, and then Dragon's Dogma 2. Man, I'm so excited about those 3 games. You have no idea. Anyway, we can get to the video. Shout out to the sponsors on Patreon for supporting. You don't have to support, just choose to. You know, it's there. It's always an option, but there's nothing for it. You know, it's just if you enjoy the channel. And there's, you can do whatever you want. Just watch the video. Watching the video it's good. Just be here. Just interact. Ask a question. You know, do all the good stuff. Okay. Anyway, I can tell Aloha's about to be a pain. So with that, let's get into the Q&A. Hashtag Mondays with Mrhappy. Hello, Sir Happy, or hello, sir from London. I like how I just added a word. Like you didn't, whatever. Hello. Hope you're well. You too. What puts me off Savage ratings when people say Doorboss, Prog, DSR, it gets confusing and I don't know what they mean. Can you share what these mean and what others should be aware of before rating? These are fight-specific terms. They're mostly abbreviations and or, what's the word I'm looking for now? Shorthand. Prog, short for progression. DSR, Dragon Songs Reprise. Doorboss means a phase 1 boss. I would say these are the kind of things, if you don't know, you just ask. You're also, 2 of those 3 things you will not worry about if you're new to Savage, because you are not joining the final fight of a tier or DSR before you've done anything else. There is also, I think, a full dictionary / encyclopedia on Reddit. I think there used to be. Somebody made one at the very least. I don't know if it's still there, but that would be it. But yeah, it's all just shorthand and abbreviation. You just have to look at what the people are doing and try to figure it out from there. Or ask them, be like, or like ask in shout chat, be like, hey, new to raiding, trying to learn the lingo. What do these things mean? And then you filter out the people who are smart asses and you just take the real answers. Like go to Limsa and ask her something, because that'll be way quicker than waiting a week for me to answer. Hashtag Mr. Monday happy with. Hi, Haps. Hi. Whenever I think of what kind of mechanic the dev team could add to Savage, I struggle a bit. That's because almost every mechanic either has to be a derivative of something we've already done, or it needs to be something that's hyper specific to an encounter. So like a great example is caloric theory. We don't have anything in the game that works exactly like caloric theory, you know, based on movement from like the closest thing, honestly, it's closer to like fire chains, where like your starting location determines like the max distance that you need to go to break the chain. In here, your starting location determines the max distance you're allowed to move before the mechanic completely fails. Which is actually one of the newer things. Like they did actually come up with a pretty decent idea there, but we've seen other things like mixing of the concepts, which is really just debuff sharing, but like the combinations of the debuffs making things. They've done a pretty good job with unique debuffs, but that's really what it comes down to. It's debuffs that directly interact with the theme of the encounter. And that's usually how you end up with more interesting stuff, I suppose. Stack spread, tether, soaking, any combination. Yeah, because you need to know what the fight is. You got to remember, they don't start most of the time, I should say. They don't start by making mechanics and then deciding what fight they go to. They pick a fight, they have a full like lore write-up of what the character does, their personality, the kind of things that they would do, and then they break it down from there. If you just try to think about mechanics in a vacuum, you always end up with the same ideas. It'd be easier if you like made a boss idea and did that whole process yourself and then went from there. Like, let's say you wanted to reimagine Phoenix, for example, as if we need to do that again. And you want to do something with, so you know fire, it's a bird, so like something like fire tornadoes. Okay, what do the fire tornadoes do? We have fire tornadoes in the other one. What if, I don't know, what if there was a tornado that could tether to a player, that surrounded one player and tethered to another player, right? And keep in mind, we're still largely using ideas. And the tethered player determines the direction the tornado is being moved, while the player in the middle needs to avoid ever touching the outer edges. This would be awful in our game, by the way. Just the latency would murder it. And then they have to safely guide them, like safely kite them around while they move and do nothing else. Like, I don't know, like, that's what I mean. You have to start with an idea and work down. You can't just start from the mechanic and work up. It just doesn't work that way. But anyway, do you think things like jumping to evade an attack or more dynamic types of mechanics could work? They could. Technically, you can kind of use jumping to cheat a few things, and they know that sometimes, so they disable jumping during some mechanics. You know, P12 did that most recently. But yeah, no, you totally could do that, and they could be used. I don't know that I trust them, though. Again, same reason why that tornado I don't trust. I don't know if I would trust the requirement of jumping for a mechanic and the game understanding the timing down to like the precise second. It just makes me nervous to imagine. That's just me. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hey, Haps. Hi. Question for you. Do you think with the graphical update, we'll be getting new customization options? Depends on what you mean by, let me read the rest. Made a bet with one of my friends that I would be a male here if there was, and wanted to know if I was in the clear. So they've said they want more character creation options after the graphical update is done. So that depends. Is your bet on 7.0? Because if so, there's a high probability you've lost. If it's just the graphical update will lead to more character creation options, you will eventually be in the clear. It's just a question of when, because I doubt that's a major like short-term priority versus everything else. Let's see, if there's no news about it at FanFest, or if it's like the Astra and Dragoon rework, they'll talk about it later. Yeah, they mentioned it briefly in an interview that they, after the graphical update, they wanted to do new character customization options. So it's not with the graphical update. So it's all about those keywords. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Well met, Mr. Happy. What's your favorite restaurant? I can't answer that. So I don't eat at chain restaurants. Like ever. I always eat local. That was true when I was a kid, and that was true. Hi, aloha. And that's true now. And I'm not going to dox myself now. What I'll say is this. In New Jersey, it was pizza, and it was a local pizza place. They're still open to this day. And where I live now, it's sushi, and I've had some crazy things there, and the owner is awesome. And I've watched him work his craft, and when I haven't had sushi literally in like, I don't know. It's been a while. It's been at least a year. Might have been. Yeah, I think it's been since December of 2022. I'm not confident in that, but it's probably from around then, like December 2022 is the last time I had sushi. And I'm now really hungry for sushi. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hey there. Hi. Hope you and the cats are doing well. We are. This one's desperate for my attention right now. Next week, when you see this, the last major patch for Endwalker will have released. My two questions for you is, what do you think of the last stage of the Mandible Weapon aesthetic-wise, and what did you think of the story? If you mean the entire Hildebrand story, I mean, I've always loved Hildebrand. I think the only place they really fumbled with Hildebrand was Stormblood. I think it's a little... Well, no. So A Realm Reborn is too fillery, like all of A Realm Reborn for Hildebrand. But Stormblood is the one that I thought they did the worst job with, like, in terms of interest level overall, even though it has Yojimbo in it. For the Mandible Weapon story, about as silly as I expected, but I was kind of surprised at the aesthetic. It is largely alien, which makes sense given what we're literally using like a cosmic stone for it. I really like it though. There's only a couple I don't like, but if anything, what's been more annoying is not the right word. I guess a topic, a conversation I've been less interested in is a lot of people have come to me being like, oh, do you think this has anything to do with Solution 9? I was like, are you trying to ask me if Mandervillians are in Solution 9? Because I can't say no, but no. So, yeah, I think they did a good job overall. I just hate tomes. That's it. I just hate tome only. Hashtag Mr. with Mondays Happy. Hey, Happy, how goes? Goes good. And bonus eye for anyone who forgot, except Leonard. He can find his own hello. Damn Leonard. Quick question for you. Which Relink character did you enjoy most in the demo? I'm getting it on PC and I haven't played it yet, but I've played the gacha on and off. That's tough. So I really enjoy Gondagozu. Is it Gondagazu? Gondagozu. I've already forgotten. I've spent very little time with these characters compared to people dedicated to the franchise. Yeah, Gonda. Gondagazu. He's Big Punch. That's it, Big Punch. I actually didn't think I'd like him as much because he's slow. He's slow Big Punch, not fast Big Punch. But because of that, Big Punch feels like bigger punch because Big Punch slow, and I like Big Punch. That being said, on a technical standpoint, I appreciate characters like, God, I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to get the names correct. I remember Charlotta. She was a joke to play, and she's stupid strong. So is Yadarga. Everyone calls Yoda. Both of them, the Munchkins were ridiculous. I couldn't believe how good both of them were. In terms of both strength and the feeling to play. Zeta was fun. I got kind of tired of doing the jump cycling though. And whenever an enemy moves, the jump cycling, kind of the timing changes. It's a little weird. What was her name? I'm trying to remember the one's name. Was it Kalina? No, that's not right. Let me see here. What is it? Catalina. There you go. Yeah. Catalina was probably the one character that I appreciated the technical aspect of how to master them, but didn't like it in the demo. Like it wasn't intuitive. And even after I learned how to play her technically, it felt like she needed talents. Like there's a few characters like Catalina. I think maybe not. Who needed? Oh, Lancelot needed talents big time. He was like, he felt great to play, but he was just so not good, or at least he didn't feel good. I don't know. It was super strange. Is her name Nariyama, the horn samurai lady? She was also highly technical, but she was very satisfying to play. So I think the winner has to be Gondagazu, but Nariyama and then Charlotta and Yadarga. Charlotta and Yadarga are just so strong. I can't not put them near the top. They're probably the two best characters, like by far. And Gondagazu is probably near the bottom of what I played, but I like him because punch. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Howdy, Haps. Hi. How are you doing? Wait, hope you are doing well and keep up the awesome work, both Jim and on videos. Doing my best. I was wondering how you felt about the state of Dark Knight. I'm not a Dark Knight player. I feel like I'm unqualified to answer this. And that's important. A lot of people come to me and ask me questions like this. I don't mind answering because I have some form of opinion on it. But if I was Square, I wouldn't ask me what's wrong with Dark Knight, what I think of the state of Dark Knight. You know what I mean? And that's kind of how I think of it. It's like, it's like asking, I don't know. It's like asking someone in one profession to determine their, like, whether or not something else is in a good state. It's always kind of like secondhand and not like fully knowledgeable most of the time. And so, you know, I don't like to take my own opinion on it too seriously. For me, at least, it's feeling like the squishiest of the tanks. I don't think so. I mean, I'll tell you what, though. Warrior is a monster defensively, so almost all the tanks, to me, feel like Warrior's got him beat, like, hands down. Like, it's an unavoidable truth. But no, I haven't had any issue defensively with Dark Knights. The only thing is their healing, which is dumb. I don't know why they don't want to give Dark Knight, like, a real good healing option. But, oh, Dark Knight otherwise is just cracked out this whole expansion, in my opinion. It just doesn't feel as intuitive to play in like the simple stuff like dungeons when you don't have healing, versus Warrior, which has all the healing. So they're just on such polar opposite ends. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hey Haps, hi. Is there a story to your current Warrior of Light design? Not to the design. Well, I guess kind of the design. I was asked to host a Lalafell glam contest, and they said I needed to be a Lalafell for it. I said, well, I'm not going to buy a Fantasia just to do that. So they said, okay, here's a Fantasia. They actually got me 5 Fantasias. And then I changed to Lalafell. My girlfriend at the time, she designed that Lalafell, and then I gave him the sideburns. And then they never held the contest. And I was like, you know what? I've got the extra Fantasias. I'm just going to stay Lalafell. And now I can't, it's so hard for me to play any race that isn't Lalafell, because when I'm small like that, I can see like the space my character is occupying. It's way easier for me to judge where that like little center hit pixel is. And I just hate playing as anything else. But that's it. It's not like a real, like, there's not like a reason for it other than just that, and that, like, why it even happened in the first place. It could have looked however. I didn't design it, but that's just how it turned out. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hello, Happy. Hope all is well. You too. Quick question for you. Got it. With Dawn Trail, aloha. I don't know. I have noise cancellation on the microphone, so you might not be able to hear him, but he is howling right now. He is just looking up at me right here next to my desk. I'm reaching down and I'm petting him, and he's grabbing my hand, and he's just like, oh no, come over to the couch. Ow, aloha. Jesus. He's literally like on his two like hind paws, like grabbing my arm. Just like, hi. Hey, you want to come up for the video? Come on. All right, with Dawn Trail being more focused on activities that people can do together, what are your thoughts on integrating more co-op play to questing? I've always thought we could use more co-op play to questing. Here's the thing with WoW, I always felt like elite quests were a double-edged sword. I had a lot of fun in like the early days of WoW, you know, trying to find a group for an elite quest, and like I would just go and do the other quests in the zone while I was looking for a group, or like if I saw anyone else who was looking for people for the elite quest. And that's usually how it worked for me, and that was totally fine. But the thing is, we do have grouping for questing. It's just optional grouping. Like, and I know you don't mean for trials and dungeons and stuff. But yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things that I think could work, but we're so much less dependent on those general quests that you run into like a number of people doing it issue, because like no one's going to take the side quest that like they need to group, or very few people comparatively are going to take it even to clear the map. So it's I don't know, it's one of those that I totally am on board, but I don't think the way 14 is built with it in mind, and that becomes a problem. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hey Haps. Hi. So we know that if we get another Monster Hunter collab, Yoshi P is trying for Nidhogg and Diablos. What other monsters do you think would be a fun fight? I think people who have played more Monster Hunter than me might have a better idea. Because like I look at, there's a lot. There's no small volume of answers for that. But like when you look at stuff like Valstrax and you go, oh yeah, that totally makes sense in 14. It almost makes too much sense. You know, like you could dummy it down to making it more like a traditional 14 fight, and it would be like, it wouldn't be a surprise at all. So there's like a delicate balance for taking a Monster Hunter fight and putting it in 14. Rathalos was kind of perfect for that. Like they made it work where you totally see how it's like Monster Hunter-esque gameplay wise, but it's not something so extravagant. I think that's where you struggle. I think when monsters have too unique of a special move is where it starts to feel less like Monster Hunter. A good example would be what's his face, the monkey. Oh god, it's been so long since I played. You know who. Like I don't know, I feel like that doesn't translate as well to 14, or at least doesn't translate in such a way that makes it as fluid as Rathalos does. So I think you're looking at things like Nergigante and Diablos, and then yeah, I don't know, I just keep landing on things like that that just aren't as gimmicky of a boss, I would say, and don't have like super easy to translate to boss mechanic style attacks. Second, do you think a Monster Hunter collab with Criterion would be cool? No, a lot for the same reason. Also, like I understand that you're kind of probably comparing it to like multi-boss hunts out in Monster Hunter. I don't think so. I think it works better as just a standalone boss fight. I think the idea of having a dungeon that does not just put you at the boss and you need to find the boss is probably more the direction I'd go with a Monster Hunter style dungeon, where it's more like a small field area and you have to scout it out and you have to like find tracks and stuff. Like that to me sounds more apt. But also, you know, I feel like a lot of people get tired of that, doing it over and over again. So that's its own form of problems. All right. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hey, Mr. Monday. Hi. Hope you're happy. I am. So 14 is basically the first Final Fantasy I played, aside from 12 when I was a kid and barely remember anything about it. Now, I have played and loved 7 Remake. I also played a bit of 15. And the question, but the question is, considering I'm not the biggest fan of turn-based combat, what other Final Fantasy games would be good to pick up? Heard 13 was kind of the first to stray away from it, and 16 is DMC levels of action, but I'm waiting for a PC release. Yeah, those are very much not. So 12, you've already mentioned. That would have been a big suggestion. 10 is raw turn-based. 4 through 9 are ATB, which is like a weird action style turn-based, where basically instead of taking turns properly like you do in 1, 2, 3, and 10, you instead have a gauge that fills up, similar to what you're used to in the gauge from 7 Remake. And when that gauge fills up, you then choose what to do with your turn. But even while you're choosing, and depending on which menu you're on, all the other ATBs are still moving, so enemies can still use their attacks. I think you might want to lean towards ATB more than traditional turn-based if you're going to go anywhere. But otherwise, you've named all of them. 4 would maybe be a decent recommendation in this case. 6, of course, as well. I mean, any of them could, but I feel like the shorter, more digestible retro ones, 4, 5, and 6, might suit that better. Aloha, I'm petting you right now. Why are you so greedy? Than the other turn-based games. I think you would probably want to go towards the ATB games more than anything. Quick lightning round question. Somebody asked me if I was going to play Code Vein. Am I bugging, or did somebody ask me that not long ago? I feel like I remember being asked that. Maybe they asked me in 2 different locations, like maybe on stream and here. But no, I have no intention of playing Code Vein anytime soon. I played it at a convention. It was pretty good, but I remember something else came out around then, and I like couldn't commit to it. I probably won't commit to it anytime soon. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hello, good sir. Hi. Thanks as always for your great content. Thanks for enjoying it. Getting back into 14 after several month break due to a personal loss. Sorry to hear that. Hope you're doing okay. It's kind of like training, which brings me to my question. Last year, I started jogging 3 times a week to lose weight, and I lost almost nothing after 6 consistent months. I don't have a gym, but I do have free weights at home. Seeing your inspirational progress, what advice do you have for losing weight while also increasing strength? Well, so is it more about diet? Yes. Number 1. Number 2, jogging will not increase your strength. Jogging is not a bad way to burn calories, but you can't, if you're eating like a lot, and then you just jog a few times a week, but you're like sedentary for the other, let's say you jog for an hour and you're sedentary for the other, 23 hours out of the day, every day. And then, so, yeah, I mean, it's not going to do anything noticeable. You're better off doing very slow targeted weight training and walking a bit, just like to move, just to have like a natural calorie burn, and eating better. Eating better is the big thing. Like eating is like the main thing I put all my energy into now. Like I'll give you a great example. I'm working out 5 times a week now, and I maintain a pretty decent level of carbs all throughout the week for that reason, because I need them to work out efficiently. I'm also doing a calorie deficit right now, so I'm trying to focus on staying around the 2,000, 1,900, 2,000. 2,100 is like the upper limit, but I like to give it a little bit of leeway between 1,900, 2,000. Keep my fat count relatively low, between 40 and 50 grams of fat a day. And then it's all protein and then whatever else I can fill in with carbs. And I've gone down a considerable bit in the last almost month now, or so, that I've actually been doing that. I got an electronic scale, and I'm focusing not on the number. I'm focusing on lean muscle mass versus fat. Although, to be fair, electronic scales are not like the greatest for that, but it's better than having nothing. So it's about creating like other ancillary goals that make the diet feel like it's working more than anything else. And I don't even like calling it a diet. All I'm doing is restricting calorie intake and trying to hit certain amounts of nutrients obtained. So macros, as people call them, versus like, oh, I'm only going to eat like salads and shit. No, I'm not doing that. I want food that sustains me. But like, this morning I had a bagel with peanut butter and jelly. Like, that doesn't sound like a diet food, but it informs the rest of my day. Then I have a protein shake. So now that informs some of what I can still do. I keep eggs and egg whites both because sometimes I may want the fat or the nutrients from the egg yolk. Like it's a lot, it's more energy eating than it is doing anything else. But all it boils down to is eat less and work out some. And that's good enough for most people. You might plateau at some point, but it's better than just jogging 3 times a week, but not really changing anything else, because that will do almost nothing for you. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hey, you haps, and a handful for any missed or hopefully not to be missed. You damn right. To go off your comment last week regarding Final Fantasy games creating their own content that adds to the franchise as a whole, what in your opinion would be 14's main mimetic legacy that would be the staple of the future Final Fantasies moving forward, or is it just a bunch of smaller ones? No, there's a mix of them. I feel like the entirety of our Heidelin saga is chock full of things that you could pull from. I think they've already shown that at the very least musically, Soken is very much willing to create themes or thematic ideas for entire entities like Titan, Omega. He wants like a certain energy to be around them that feels similar between games. So when you see a boss, you kind of can already expect what kind of music you're going to get for said boss. Now, obviously that only works while Soken is the composer, and he won't be the composer forever and ever and ever. And they may even use, they may use other composers for other games. Square Enix works with a lot of composers and has a lot of composers. But that in itself kind of is a print left on. Hearing certain themes reused in Final Fantasy XVI, or even just motifs continuing on, is kind of the legacy that it's leaving for everything. I do think there are other aspects of it that you can definitely look at and go like, okay, we could see more of that going forward, especially stuff like Pandemonium. There's tons of stuff in there that you can use. But the more stuff we do like Pandemonium, the more often we have chances to have those moments. And I'd rather have chances to have things that are going to carry through than not have those chances at all. Hashtag maintenance day with Mr. Happy. Writing this during 24-hour maintenance. Nice. Hey, Haps. Hi. Been a while since I asked something. I haven't seen enough people talk about this, so maybe they missed it in a previous FanFest. Do you think the reason why they haven't touched upon many of the gear compatibility for Hrothgar Vieira is due to the new skeletal model that showed in one dev panel? There's a new system where you can more easily morph between races and sizes to better fit the same pieces. Yeah, they've already said they're working on. They've been making active headway. I didn't do that on purpose, but now it is. Towards the whole headgear problem they've been having with Hrothgar and Vieira. They mentioned that in an interview, maybe month and a half prior to FanFest, maybe not even, maybe it was less than a month even. So yeah, no, I don't, they're clearly working on it. So I don't think it'll be ready for the graphical update, but I think that that's something they're working on in tandem to have ready eventually for the graphics update. I had another quick question asking if I'm going to play Golden Sun. That I'm far more interested in playing, and I do want to play it because, as they mentioned, it is on Switch. Although isn't it on like Switch plus Switch expansion? I hate giving Nintendo money. Yeah, it's eventually, yeah, but I've got a lot on my plate right now. As for the question in front of us, hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. I keep looking over to make sure that I have the right audio device going, and I sure do. Sometimes it just swaps randomly, and I get really nervous. Hi, Haps. Hi. In your video about upcoming Dawn Trail patches, you mentioned your prediction for the release is July 9th. You also mentioned you started to second guess that prediction. I'd love to hear your thoughts on other potential release dates. Actually, end of June. I think it's like 2 weeks earlier. That's the more realistic one. I think what they said about 16 at JP FanFest, where they said, Final Fantasy 16 was summer, I think that's closer to what it'll probably be. I don't think it's going to go into the end of July or August. I don't think it will. I won't be surprised if it will. But July 9th is what I put. I disagree with it already, but I got to commit to it. That is the prediction I said. I was locking it in, and it's locked in. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Hippo. Hey, that's not nice. Hello, Haps. Hi. Text dump for context. It's not actually that much text, to be fair. TLDR is how I can get myself back into the game as I love it and need to finish Endwalker, but I've been lacking the drive to lock in for 5 months. It's very into 14, put 90 days of playtime in just under a year. For the past 3 years, leveled all the jobs, didn't play. Before starting Endwalker MSQ, I'd grinded all my jobs to 90, besides the one I'm using for MSQ. Have an inkling. That's why I desire to you just burned out. You just need to log in and start working on MSQ. It's not going to be the same as leveling every job. The bigger concern is that you're going to be like, oh man, I'm going to freaking, you're going to get sucked in and do it again and then burn out again. Yeah, you just need to log in and just do the MSQ. You need to stop thinking about it so much. That's it. Sometimes you just got to stop thinking and do. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hi, Haps. Hi. All speculation, I'm sure, but even so, I'm curious if you have any idea when we may hear the official release date. Oh, next live letter. So we don't know when the next live letter is, but it should have it. I sincerely doubt they hold on to the release date any longer than that. And at this point, it's more about predicting when that live letter is, and I'm willing to bet that it's probably in March. Because we normally know by now. This is the first time we haven't known by the time fan fests are done. And they've already explained why they didn't tell us. So, yeah, it's just a matter of next live letter we should find out. We should find out what's in the collector's edition, have that showcased real quick. And I'm going to predict that that's March. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Good morning, Happy. Or whenever you're recording this, afternoon, but it will be morning when I see this. So good morning. I cleared top recently in Party Finder. Oh, God bless your soul. God bless your soul. I can't believe you did it. I mean, I can. I know other people who have, but like, it's just a special kind of hell, which uses auto marker and highly encourages simulators to help clearing the fight. With that being said, as someone who is a longtime hardcore raider, what is your stance on AM and Sims? AM is sad. That's the truth. The brutal truth of it is that it's sad. It's less sad there because of how deep it is into the fight and how little you can trust other people. That's what it's making up for. It's not making up for necessarily the inability for you as an individual to do it. It's that there's 8 people's potential inability that it's trying to make up for in the Party Finder. It's one of those things that's just kind of unavoidable. The thing is with AM is we first saw it in places like Uwu. And then you didn't really see PF mention it at all for a long time. And now in like the last 6 months, it's showing up in like the dumbest places. I just try to avoid PFs that mention it or use it, but I also don't do ultimate PF. So that's why all the people I do ultimates with, we manually mark every single one. So fortunately, I've never had to have that run in with it. And Sims, so here's the thing. The Sims, it's like this really weird middle ground that both makes sense for like how people think about it. Like it makes sense to me and doesn't make sense. Because like people are really like hardcore against, can be really hardcore against stuff like AM, but be totally okay with the Sim just because it's not in the game and it's not like affecting your active play in the game. But the Sim is the single biggest thing that anybody can use for prog. It will eliminate more hours of prog than literally anything else you can do, including any of the volume of cheats that people made clips for back when Top was out. It is more effective than all of that, especially when you're running with the same 8 people and can practice in it and then get used to everyone's movements and patterns and all that stuff. So it's one of those like really weird middle grounds. I don't like it because it feels a lot different to me than when I'm actually playing the game. But that's also because I very quickly grasp mechanics and I don't need a tool like that for me to figure out where I need to go. You know, there's of course going to be mistakes, but here's the thing. Even with those little bit of mistakes, this is meant to minimize those little mistakes, or at least it's supposed to. And as such, you know, even for people like me who learn and can replicate very quickly, it still technically is a gain. It's just I could have done that in a few pulls of the fight itself versus, you know, doing that. So I don't like it. I don't like either of them, but I understand why they've become as popular as they have been. And it is what it is. I mean, with the way the fights are built, there's no way people are going to stop using these things. You'll see them more likely. I just hate the laziness that eventually comes out of AM in particular. At least the Sim is still just like, it's just like a progression speed up because something's late into a fight. AM is just literally like, bro, I can't be asked to figure this out. Just figure it out for me and then I'll just go where I'm supposed to go. Hashtag Mr. with Mondays Happy. Hi. First time doing this. Welcome. Don't know if it's been asked before. Probably. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't ask. It's not like I answered you. You need to know. But is it normal to have no more updates for 6 months until the next expansion? It's my first time being up to date, so I don't know if this is normal. Yeah, it's fairly normal. We usually get stuff like, we're getting the seasonal events and the collaboration events. The 11 event is coming back. The 16 event will be in April. The Xbox beta is happening. So things are happening in that 6-month period. There will be a Moogle Tombstone event. They might bring back Yokai. There's like all that little stuff. But that's about it, I suppose. And it's like, those aren't meant to be like engaging for everyone activities. They're more like things to like have there, like as time goes on, because there are things people may want. It somewhat encourages maintaining a sub for people who need or want to do those things, or Xbox are just going to start playing and they have to learn the game, and then other people may want to help them learn. I kind of want to do that. I kind of want to do a thing where we find a place where there's like a lot of Xbox people and we kind of just go around and help them out and stuff. Like, I would love to do something like that. But for just straight updates, yeah, this is very normal. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Howdy, Haps. Hi. Gotta say, my favorite part of JP, I can see a word. I can see 3-letter combinations already under this. That was when the CEO came out and announced Pictomancer's drawings will be changed based on ScreenX NFTs we own now available on the box. It's funny. The old CEO, the one previous to this, started the NFT thing. We got the new one who's still like on board, but it all stopped. Like, there's the little bit of the AI thing with foam stars for the little tiny album covers that I haven't seen any of them, so I don't know what they look like. But it's like we got the new guy who's just as into it, and they like totally shifted away. So I'm really wondering what that's going to be like in the long term, given his stance on everything. I understand what you're saying is a joke, but like I'm thinking about like the genuine future / logistics of it. Question though: if and when you attend a media tour, is there a job you want to jump straight into to check out first? So the way I've done previous media tours is I go to the new jobs right away. And then I just literally scroll through the job list and then just get whatever footage I can. What I need to do if and when, as you've said, I do attend, I never take that for granted. I wouldn't be surprised, if I'm not, because, you can't, people just expect me to be attending something like that if it does happen, if they're doing it, which, it's reasonable to assume they will do it. But I never take it for granted, because no matter what, the news hits, it's going to hit everyone, and I'll make videos no matter what happens. So all I know is that when news comes out, I'm making videos. If it's the first, if it's second, doesn't matter. I'm making content no matter what. But for my priority list, I literally just go right to the new jobs, because I always think to myself, that will be the thing people want to know most. Because they're thinking like, oh, should I change mains? And then they think about their current main, and then they think about everything else. So that's what my priority list is normally. Before I answer this one, there was a pretty long one about them not really doing much with Final Fantasy VII, like collaboration-wise. There's not a whole lot of Final Fantasy VII references. Somebody had actually answered that in the replies and said what I would have said, and that they specifically stated they didn't want to bother the Final Fantasy VII dev team. That was back when Remake itself was being made. So it was years ago. I don't remember when they did that, but I think it was either a live letter or a fan fest. It was like during a major event. It wasn't like just in an interview. They've answered that in an interview too, but it wasn't just in an interview. It was something they had mentioned like on stage or something like that. But yeah, either way, that's it. That's the only reason why there's no collaboration. And then for 7, we have the weapon series. We have Costa del Sol, we have minions, we have mounts. It's just, we don't have like Sephiroth and Genova and Hojo. Like, we don't have like those bits, but we have lots of bits of 7 sprinkled about. Oh, the Rising Stones, the bar is called the 7th Heaven. Another example. Anyway, for the question in front of us, though, and after this, I'm going to lightning round it. That's where I just don't do any edits because I'm lazy. And then we just go through the rest. I don't know how many there are, but I've been like recording for 40-something minutes at this point. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. They didn't say hello, but they're talking about thanking me. So I'll take it. I still thank you in my heart for telling Yoshi P to fix Blood Weapon to be a stack system. I didn't tell him to do it. I just wondered why they hadn't. And that was enough, I think. No, you telling them about things won't always mean they will fix it, but would think making a list with the most complained about things about jobs and maybe show it to them. I can promise you that it's not me doing it. Me bringing it up and then the community maybe being on fire about it might be another. Because like the community's been on fire about Kaiten. They know about Kaiten, okay? They know. It ain't coming back, samurais. It's gone. It's gone forever. No, it might, who knows? It might come back. But I'm saying give up hope. And if it comes back, then, be glad. But Yeah, no, I mean, if I ever have the opportunity, I do like to consider those things. I look at like something that's a common concern or complaint. I did that during the Shadowbringers media tour. I went out to Japan and I got to go to the Square Enix office and I interviewed Yoshi P there. And I immediately brought to attention the race problem with female Hrothgar and male Viera not existing. And it gave a lot of people more confidence that we would actually get them in the future, because he was asking me questions about why people expected certain things and like, where was the expectation and, why. And it's just, and I got to have that discussion with him, paraphrased, of course, for the sake of the video. But he, I feel like he takes away things like that, but he doesn't just take away that I've brought it up. It puts it in a spot where, even again, people are going to see it because they know I've interviewed them. They know I'm producing content on it. So they then can collect information from stuff like that. I think that's important. A lot of people point to the official forums, but there are plenty of times where stuff that Square Enix has worked with a media source directly for, I feel like a lot of people like to take that media source and talk about it elsewhere. I would highly recommend engaging with media sources, because I feel like we've often seen feedback make it to the team more easily when an interview or something like that is engaged with on the page it is created on, versus going to Reddit afterwards and talking about it there. I don't know. That's just my opinion. And also, I'm not going to lie, there's tons of people who do interviews, media pieces for things like 14, 7 Rebirth, like tons of, and not just for Square Enix, for tons of products. And then the entire discussion happens somewhere else. And it's just, I wouldn't expect developers and community teams to follow the discussion into another place, especially a place that can be kind of non-constructive like Reddit. So it's just, I don't know. I would encourage more engagement with it. Not to mention those websites love that engagement. That encourages them to want to cover things more versus just, they will see the Reddit page, but then it gets them to know that people actually came to the page and followed the discussion properly and engaged with it. And it's a metric that is like so lost on everyone at this point. And, I just wouldn't take credit for it. I would say it just creates another opportunity for people to voice their opinion when they engage with the sole source of content and where it's happening. All right, and with that, I have a lightning round. Do I think they'll do anything with Black Mage's Scathe in Dawn Trail? No, I think it's actually going to stay, and I think it's going to stay the same. I'm not going to lie. It shouldn't be the same the way it is now, but I think it's going to be. How have Alphino and Alice not aged? Time bubble. And that, okay, hold on. There's not a lot of questions here. Merry beginning of 14 downtime to you. Like that one. What's your favorite set for normal raids? Oh, you mean just the normal raids? That's tough. I'm not going to include Coil because that's cheating. Midas is up there. Midas was fantastic. Normal mode raid through and through. And it's funny, Abyssos is better in normal mode than it is in Savage. I think that some of that is the expectation is lower because it's just a normal mode, but that's another big one. What's another really good one? Eden's Promise is really good in normal mode. Eden's Gate is okay for the most part. No, I think Midas. I think to this day, Midas wins. In fact, I think Midas and Creator both might be in the top 2. And yeah, the rest are good, but I don't know. I think those have the edge. Let's see. And then let's see. Safe to assume the job will start from level 1 for Beastmaster. Yeah, that's safe to assume, I think. And then there's a lot of Stormblood Ultimate talk here. Is there any reason why the new jobs start 20 levels lower? 10 levels to get accustomed and do job quests, and then 10 levels to do the MSQ, or to do it in more relevant content at the moment. Do you have an educated guess on when we'll get the benchmark character creator? I'm going to guess April. It's not very educated, but I'm going to guess April. Then we have something that says something spoilery towards the end of MSQ. I'm trying to see if I can read it without all that. Okay, then there's this. Okay, yeah, it's something very specific story related that I barely remember, so I don't even have an answer for it. And then we have another one here. I have trouble finding people to do content with. It's because you're overthinking it. Playing with random people, like, yeah, there's headaches, But honestly, as long as you don't take it too, you do your best, but don't take it too seriously. It's just hilarious half the time. Dude, whenever I PF, I just expect comedy. I don't expect to win. I expect comedy. And if I win, great. Then it's like, awesome, great, awesome. Had a great time. Good job, everyone. If I get comedy, like, man, I really wanted to clear that today, but yo, that was so funny. Just got to go with lower expectations and focus on your personal performance and not how good or bad everyone else is doing. Then we have, and that might be the last one. Yeah, I think that's the last one. Still another comment about looking tired. This is hereditary, in case you're wondering. If this is why you think I look tired, it's all hereditary. That's not going anywhere, and I ain't putting on no makeup for your ass, so you better get used to that shit right now. But I think that covers absolutely everything, because most of the other comments are kind of in the same vein. So that's going to be a wrap for this week's episode of Mondays with Mr. Happy. Be sure to like and subscribe, ask your questions in the comments section for next week's video. And with that, I'll see you then. Until then, bye-bye.